All right, Craig, I'm going to talk about the verbiage at the end of your practice, at the doctor at the end of the appointment that can categorically change your practice and the growth of your practice. So the wind up to this is so many of us delegate or rely on our teams or our front desk or our technology to communicate some important things to patients. And those are great, but if you're not auditing them and auditing the result, then shame on you, kind of thing. So as you know, like, I am not a born talker like you. I get uncomfortable sometimes, I get awkward sometimes. And when I'm leaving, and so I developed a great exit verbiage for when the appointment was done that accomplished a lot of things. So it was a strategic, not just a, all right, high five, Miss Jones, peace out kind of thing. Like, weird. So in our mastermind, Craig, we talk about the 3 R's, and I remind my team here that there's 3 things you need to be reminding patients of at the summation of at the conclusion of the appointment. Okay, and those 3 things are the R's are the reappoint, the review, and the referral, right? Okay, so when we talk about it in the mastermind, there's a different 3R. We talk about in the section of the Bulletproof pathway, we talk about we add retention in there, right? Like, how do you make sure that the patient stays retentive? Okay, but so from this, I want to give you just some quick stuff about each of those, and we're going to break down why we want to remind everyone and yourself to say these 3 R's. You can't say them enough to the patient. All right, so the reappoint. I'm gonna let you take a stab at that. Why is that important?
So, of all the things that you can measure in your practice, the reappointment rate is a single statistic or key performance indicator that is most correlated with overall practice success and health.
Yes.
Of all of them.
Yes. So basically ensuring that, and especially this is very common in the restorative side, meaning hygienists are very good at putting the next appointment on, but restorative sides, doctor sides, if you will, doctor chairs, you get what I'm saying, are notorious for just,
hey, congrats, Mrs. Jones.
See you later.
A crown, got your veneers, have a great life.
Yeah. So making sure, and so the prognostication of the reappoint is making sure that a high percentage of your patient base has a next appointment, whatever that looks like, right? If it's a restorative, if it's hygiene, something is upcoming that they are already scheduled for before they leave your office. Okay. That needs to be drilled into your culture. The next thing is review. Okay. And so let me show you something that talks about the review and why it's important. And I brought this up in our 3-hour deep dive in the AMA. I'm sorry, in the monthly mastermind. But I talked about, did you remember this part?
Yeah, of course.
Where it was like, there's more things. So we think about reviews as something that is going to benefit us, meaning, hey, get reviews so that I look better online to the social fabric of my community, kind of thing. And we think it's just the gamify, get more reviews. But there's some psychology to getting someone to write a review. And I wrote these down. And so the review itself reinforces retention. So there's a perception when you get someone to write a review, and I'm going to go over the verbiage script at the end here. But when you get someone to write a review, they agree to it, it's like, I wrote a good review. I love this place. No different than when you write your goals down, right? It's that self-acknowledgement, self-accountability that you actually really did like this goal or want this goal. So in this instance,
this is a psychological phenomenon called effort justification theory. So
really?
I did this, I must really like this person.
Okay.
It makes them actually like it. Like, if you can get someone to do you a favor, like, hey, would you mind just, taking these papers and putting them in the mailbox for me? If you can get someone to do it, they're like, I guess I like that person. They respond more favorably that they did something for you. It's just a psychological phenomenon.
Yeah. Well, and look, there's so much psychology in business. The next thing is a cognitive dissonance. And so basically, if something bad happens in the future in your practice, right, some mishaps, some sidesteps, whatever, they'll ignore the future negatives to stay consistent with their review that they wrote, right? I
already said I love these people. I can't besmirch them now.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes. Like, you get a little bit more grace.
Right.
the commitment by it is they're publicly praising you, so that locks in their mentality, right? They're putting their name out there. It's kind of harder to switch later. And then a memory reinforcement, just like our goals, like writing it equals a stronger memory equals stronger emotional connection. And then just the time writing it is just a loyalty hook itself, is a micro investment of that time. So we, again, the act of writing a review, we always think of get more reviews so that I can, that's a form of marketing, and it is. But I want you also to think about and create that why to your team about why you need reviews so much, is because it creates a retentive and loyal patient as well.
And by the way, not to hijack your cadence here, but this is just a small point I want to insert here, because what you're talking about is the unintended consequences of a human being writing a review. We all know a review is great. If it gets picked up by SEO, it makes you more, it makes your site more optimized, et cetera, et cetera. It's also, sorry.
The cadence of is the thing that's the most important, not the amount. But yes, you're right.
So I think that one of the things I'd just like to insert here, and it's one of the reasons why I love Invisalign clear aligner therapy so much, because you can do a great crown, you can do a great root canal, you can do, there's a lot of procedures that hurt and they cost a lot of money and they don't really feel a whole lot better because of them. The best case scenario with the root canals, they didn't hurt me, or it didn't hurt, or they were kind and they didn't hurt me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think Invisalign is like diet dentistry. It's all the benefit without all the calories.
Yeah.
And by calories, I mean, the
struggle.
So if you have the shots and the being uncomfortable. So if you can have a really thriving aligner practice, your likelihood, it's just an easy, consistently happy.
I feel like this is a confirmational bias on your end.
Yeah. And listen, all of our shit's confirmational bias, because that's what I know. But right. I do know that aligner patients are typically happy.
Okay.
That's all.
Let me get to the third one. So we talked about reappoint. We talked about a review. And then the third R is the referral. And so, Craig, in your career, over the course of your career, and I feel like I've said this so many times, or we've had this exact little micro conversation. How many times have you heard the phrase, "Oh, you guys are accepting new patients"?
Yeah, always.
I mean, if it's not short of 100 in my career, I'd be stunned. I mean, if it's not, it doesn't exceed 100, I'd be stunned. And every time you're like, it's mind blowing, because you're like, wait, what? So again, like I said in the last podcast, like just assume people know nothing. They don't know what procedures you do. They don't know you do veneers. They don't know you're the world's expert in Invisalign.
And they also don't know that you can actually go see the dentist if you don't have insurance.
Yeah.
You can do
or
that.
You'll take your friend,
Yeah.
Okay.
I get text messages all the time. I really need some help. I'm like, what's up? My friend needs to come and he wants veneers. Can you please help me out?
Okay. So
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Here's how I would wrap the end of my appointment. Okay. Because I didn't want to just bolt kind of thing. I wanted to say goodbye and use that as a goodbye. But I also didn't want to get into like, okay, well, like, oh yeah, you're going to Disneyland, have fun. I couldn't remember all that because I was already thinking, oh God, I got to go do these 2 hygiene exams and I've seen the data there. And I'm already thinking next steps, right? So it was a way to make me be present, get out of there without also being awkward. All right. So I would sit up Miss Jones. Miss Jones is the patient. Amanda is my assistant, okay, in this story. So I would actually make sure that Mrs. Jones was sitting up as I would roll in front of her and come eye to eye with her. I would put her up back out of not reclined position back up. Okay, at that point, my assistant is handing a warm face cloth or something that's kind of helping Miss Jones clean up. And so she's sitting there just kind of cleaning up and looking at me. And so I want to say, Miss Jones, you did amazing. Everything went perfect today. Okay. Amanda, let's make sure we have all the next appointments on the books, hygiene or next crowns for Mrs. Jones. I haven't seen it, but I just want you to confirm when I leave. Okay. Miss Jones, you're going to get a little text from us tonight for that our software leaves. I'd be most appreciative if you left a review. Would you mind doing that? And then wait for the answer. Yes, no, whatever. Okay. And then also, we'd love to have more people like you. It just makes the practice a lot more fun, right? Insert something there. if you know of any friends or family that might benefit from a different dental experience, would you please send them our way? Yes, no. Okay. All right, that's it. See you soon. Walk out the door. So in that verbiage, Craig, it took me 40 seconds. I confirmed a reappoint. I asked for a review, and I let them know that I liked them and wanted more people like them, and vicariously asked for a referral. Okay. I feel, and again, maybe this is my confirmational bias. I feel if you do something like this let's compare and contrast. If you're doing nothing and just high-fiving and walking out, or you're just leaving while they're reclined, you're missing out on a big opportunity. Versus if you do this, and this becomes the standard from your hygienist, from you, from your associate doctors going forward, I feel like it will categorically boost you. It'll be a 30% boost just in this, in the growth year over year, from not doing it to doing it kind of thing. And maybe I'm off in that statistic, but it's such a massive opportunity that is wasted in most endings of dental appointments. And it becomes effortless, right? It becomes like your exit strategy. For me, it was like, I need a cool exit strategy because I didn't want to be awkward.
Yeah, you need something for closure, like a closure.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it was, like I always said, if you're not like you kind of like are just good in a scenario, I'll put you in any scenario, you're fine. But a lot of us, it's almost like we have to pretend that we're on stage most of the day.
Right.
Right. It's a theater. It's choreographed. And yes, it sometimes feels a little robotic and scripted, but it feels brand new to said person, the new person. And I liked that. I liked having the script. And did I deviate sometimes and feel a little spicier and comment sometime here? Yeah, of course. I allowed the flexibility. But in general, I had the guidelines, the framework to say, hey, I just asked for 3 things and they felt really good about themselves.
I think your request for review is like, there's like good, better, best. I think that's best in class. And I was thinking to myself, like, would most of us dentists want to do that? And I would say if you're not willing to do the best approach, which is what you just described, a good or better is whenever you get a compliment in your practice, like, wow, doc, you're so awesome. Thank you so much, doc. That is the perfect segue. It's like I get a lot of DMs in the Bulletproof side and like, your last podcast was amazing. Great. Can you just please leave a review?
Yeah. Let everyone know about this.
Yeah, let people know about it. So I think there's good, better, best. And at the very minimum, and at any time, if you're not willing because you think that's uncomfortable, and I don't think you should, I think Peter's advice is brilliant and you should take it. But if you're just not willing to do it, at least make a promise today that every time you get a compliment, just say, hey, Ms. Jones, really appreciate the kind words. Would you mind tapping this NFID or scanning this code and leave a review? It should actually be on the back of your freaking card.
100%.
Like in the back of my card. It's right there.
But
you like
what we discovered though, Craig, I think this is it, is that like when we bring this up to people we've coached in the past, present, future, whatever, it's, hey, I've got software that does that. Hey, my team does that. Do they? My front desk will ask as they're leaving, who has the most power in their time? Meaning in their, what does a patient perceive as? It's the provider typically. Like my provider asked me to do this. I said I would do it. I'm going to do it, kind of thing.
And by the way, you can extend that into your post-op call. Like, oh, my system does that. My Acme software does that. Or I know I have Nurse Diesel do that. Like, no,
yeah, actually. And that was the last thing I ever said too, is like, hey, I'm going to call you tonight just to check in on you. If you can't answer, no big deal. I'll just leave a message. Right. Have a great one.
Yeah.
Right. So there was like 4 things that were mentioned in there. And the patient's like, okay, that was cool. But they were not sitting back. They didn't have impression material on their face. Right. Because they were acknowledged and they had something, ended the appointment on like a scented, nice, warm towel kind of thing. So it's like all these niceties, things that are ending the appointment, all these niceties. That's it, man. I don't want to dilute the message here on just the 3 R's. And if you're not, and maybe you want to adapt your own 3 R's, maybe it's 2 R's, maybe it's, whatever.
I think you want to do the 3 R's. Just you can adapt your own formula for how you do it. But the reappointment rate, the reviews, these are such important things. If you could just
And the
fix your
referrals,
reappointment rate,
Craig.
your average production per page, none of the other stuff matters as much as this.
Nothing. I mean, but like even the referrals, like if you can get your referrals up, I think this verbiage can change your referrals from 10% to 30% kind of thing. Like as you rank like your total number of new patients. Assume nothing. Assume that patients think you're good to go and you don't need any friends. I mean, you don't need them to refer their friends kind of thing. Assume that.
Yeah, I think if I'm being intellectually honest, Pete, I think I built the practice that I have on my network, on my reach into the community. And when people, I get text messages all the time like, hey, I just wanted to make sure I want to introduce something. I'm really sorry to connect you via personally. I tell them, please don't apologize. Thank you. Like always use me, like always text me. If there's a new patient, you want to send a friend or somebody in, text it to me. I love that. I don't know what it is. I don't know how you'd feel about that, but I love it.
I did, yeah. And then it's easy, like, hey, I'm going to VIP connect you with a treatment
and then you just
coordinator,
email,
and then
give
you're
me
out
your
of the
email
mix.
address. Boom.
And you're out of the mix, right?
Done. One time and done.
But it's a 45-second, and meanwhile we're not willing, that's a pain in the ass sometimes to some doctors. But meanwhile, you'll spend $250 for new patient acquisition when you could get one in 5 seconds, 10 seconds, right? That feels quote unquote VIP. So it's an interesting thing to discuss, and I hope that everyone kind of adapts something like this, because you'll see a big change. And then Craig, the other thing is that your team starts hearing you say this over and over and over again. So now it becomes part of their vernacular, right? The things that they're going to talk about and ask for and remember to do, reappointments and referrals and reviews, and when you can't do it, they will do it for you because they just have heard you, right? You're leading by example.
Yeah.
And when I think when you do it, when you don't do it and you rely on everyone else to do it, what you're saying is it's really not that important.
Yeah.
Really not that important. I'm not going to use my time to say that when meanwhile, there's nothing more important for the growth going forward.
100%. I agree.
Okay. All right. Let's okay. So Craig, we will be talking about some of these things at you didn't bust on my clip art.
I know. I saw that slide with the gloves on it. I'm like, that's just a no. That just bothers me.
What in
your deck?
Well, I generate a lot of these images with AI, and it's because it's easy to do. It looks custom, right? For that presentation I did recently in Orlando. A lot of my slides were done that way, which is cool. I thought it looked good. I mean, yes, and people don't care, about it. But man, I gotta say, I'm doing some stuff now. I feel like I've been talking about AI and stuff, and I kind of chilled out talking about it. But people ask me what I'm doing, and there's some things that I'm using right now that are mind blowing, scary, and it's not ChatGPT, but it's agents. I said many months ago that would be the thing. And agents are where hey, I need you to accomplish this goal. I want you to do this, do the research, make a spreadsheet, email these people, do this, do that. Agents can handle tasks, create websites on your behalf, and they work in the background 24/7 for you. So I'm going to be talking about some of these things at Summit, where people can extrapolate their own cool things. Speaking of Summit, make sure that you are enrolled. Make sure that you are looking at getting your room block. You put out something pretty cool on Instagram the other day that was just talking about your network and
and
I think that's
it's so true. You want to get in the right room. You want to get with the right people, and it's a lonely place for dentists that strive to become entrepreneurs. And this is a great way for in one weekend to take your team, enroll them, have your office manager learn from office managers that are way ahead, that have bigger job descriptions and just like your glorified assistant. These are business managers. These are like COO, CFO type people. Train those teams to become better and then sit back and let it grow. I mean, I just truly wish I had something like this. There's like a decade or two where you and I were just the only ones we could talk to. And now we get to really give it all forward. And
I want you, as we're doing this live, go to bulletproofsummit.com, Craig. I want you, because you probably haven't visited the website in a long time, right?
No, I did the other day, but yes, I'll go.
So there's definitely some robustness to, there's the actual course descriptions, all the speakers, all the information. It's a very thorough landing page.
10x guarantee, by the way, which is awesome. 16 credit hours. You got to bring that.
It shows all the things that we're going to be talking about, which before we didn't have that because, we were asking from all of our speakers. So we've got some cool curated topics. Like you said, there's going to be specificity in the learning for office managers, specificity in the learning for hygienists, and then obviously the doctor as well from us. And then there's going to be time where we come together as a team and create alignment. So this, we always talk about leverage, Craig. This is your opportunity to create leverage in your practice, as opposed to feeling like you're swimming alone or rowing alone. Take them to the summit, create alignment, which is your leverage in your practice.
I'm going to give a shout out to my boy Elon Gamberg, who had told me, like, this is going back 3 years ago. He's like, look, I always do a reward trip for my team, and I took them on a booze cruise or whatever. It wasn't really dental learning. It was more like just a fun time. And I just, I have a big team. It's going to cost me like 25 G's to go. And I remember telling Elon, and Elon will remember the story. He's like, I said to Elon on the phone, I said, dude, if it costs you $100,000 to take your team 5 times what you just told me, it's worth it. And he actually said, yes, you are right. So if you know Elon,
now that he's been in the mastermind a couple of years,
now he's been in the mastermind for a couple of years, but it is the single greatest thing that you can do. So don't delay, because it's not just learning. You're not going to go out and learn something on your own. Even if you're you're an amazing communicator, an amazing teacher, you have to bring your team to the summit, to have them steeped in the culture of growth, have them learn from each other. So you have your hygienists learn from our hygienists, the Bulletproof hygienists, the office managers learn from the office managers. There's no other hack. And I just wish more CE was doing this, to be honest with you. Because I want to see dentistry get better.
Yeah, we do it in silos, right? The dentist goes here, the office managers go to ADOM, the hygienists go to the whatever. I don't know what
assistants go something. Assistants go, who knows?
Hyper fragmented.
Yeah, it's hyper fragmented.
And so, try this out. You won't, if you're hearing this and you're like, I don't know, trust us on this. Leverage. Your employees are your biggest investment on your P&L. Leverage that correctly.
Yep. If you're nice,
like how I said, investment, not expense, Craig.
Yeah, I know, it's true.
Okay, buddy. I know you have to go.
120 days out. We still have room, so do it. It will sell out. It always does. And we don't want to see you get an Airbnb in Kissimmee versus the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando for $200. So do it today. Register.
All right,
Thanks,
everybody.
Pete.
All right. See you, Craig.
See you guys.